COVID and the big lockdown and everybody snitching on everybody else, what is that doing to our society? Kim Schofield is a very well-known, successful criminal defense lawyer in Toronto, joins me right now because I know defense lawyers have something to say about authoritarian governments. Right. Is that what we have right now?
Well, we certainly don't want governments in every aspect of our life, and that's what we're approaching right now. So as a famous individual once said, the government does not belong in the bedrooms of our nation. Does the government belong on the cell phones of our nation? Does the government belong on the park benches in our nation, in the dog parks in our nation? I mean, but the government's in there. They're asking citizens to say, if you see more than 5 people, or whatever the rule of the day is, report it. Right. I do think it's common that you're getting those kind of reports, but it's not just the reporting of that and neighbor against neighbor. It's how the state is dealing with those reports. So I think initially we saw a real state overreaction. We saw tickets being issued. I think now it's a little more of a kinder, gentler approach. But one of the aspects that I really think people have to be careful of is the movement of the goalpost. So what we think is acceptable 6 months ago is different than what we think is acceptable today. And where will we be in another 6 months?
Will we get that back? Will we go back to the freedom that we had?
I don't think we'll ever get that back. I think that we get used to or acclimatized to certain state oversight. And I know that I'm very sensitive to it. There's lots of people that are sensitive to it, but there are a lot of people, maybe the majority, that trust blindly, perhaps, the government's intention of what they're going to do with certain data or certain information. So the information that government gets, either through the form of complaints or the form of contact tracing, what happens to that kind of information? And I'm not suggesting anything nefarious at this point happens to it, but we have to be careful about guarding that information and having legislation that deals with the destruction and the use of that information.
So to somebody watching this right now, they hear what you're saying, they agree with you. What should they do? What should they be aware of? How should they be acting or maybe even talking to their MPPs about?
Well, I think that the use of contact tracing in the form of an app, I think that theoretically, in a very benign use, it may be a good idea, but I think that we really have to look at what information is being gathered and what's going to happen to that information. And that's a Privacy Commission issue. And I just don't think that in terms of an emergency, we're necessarily as sensitive to those safeguards as we should be.
Kim Schofield, the word is be vigilant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
3 minutes. So thank you for watching. In response to many queries, I want you to know I don't always dress like Don Cherry. He dresses like me, sometimes. But seriously, we are going to continue to follow the stories that matter to you. The corruption in Ottawa, COVID, the response of officials to it, and what's going on with your taxpayers' money. If you like these stories, please subscribe. You can press the button, it's right up there. And my webpage is right down below here. It's free, and we are providing the service because we want to make sure that Canadians know what's going on.